In this video I show how a 3D printed replacement part for this stand mixer might allow me to use the shredder attachment instead of having to buy a new machine. The 3D printed part along with PCBs for my upcoming project were sent to me by the sponsor PCBWAY.com. I have liked the quality of their PCBs and these 3D printed parts seem to be great quality as well. While the process is same for replacing broken parts, nothing was actually broken in this machine, but I still needed to get a replacement part. The problem was the shredder attachment is from different model. At first glance these looked compatible and attachment seemed to fit, but something wasn't right. Shaft on the attachment should go around the output shaft of the machine, but it didn't. The position of the shaft and general shape was correct. Comparing it to other attachment that uses the same output shaft confirmed this. It wasn't until I placed these two attachments side by side that I noticed what the problem was. The input shaft of the original attachment had minimum inside diameter of little bit over 6 mm, while the shredder's input shaft was slightly smaller, little bit over 5 mm. If it was just a round hole, I could have drilled it bigger, but because of these splines that wasn't an option. I decided this was a great practical test for Nylon 3D print that PCBWAY can do with their SLS printers. It was time to model this part. The original shaft was snap fit to the top half of the shredder. I decided not to make the shaft snap fit. Instead, being loose and easy to detach was a better idea in my opinion for easier cleaning. End of the shaft that goes to the machine had to be modeled based on the attachment that came with the machine, not the shredder. That includes inner diameter of the shaft and size of the splines. The outer diameter had two main constraints. It had to fit through a hole in the shredder attachment and into the hole on the main machine around the output shaft. The length of the shaft had to match the original one. There probably was some room to make it shorter or longer, but there wasn't any reason to take that kind of risk. Then there was a more complicated looking end, with all these shapes that I needed to replicate. While there are many shapes, it wasn't actually hard. It was just about comparing, measuring and drawing simple shapes. 4 splines around the shaft interlock this shaft to the blade holder inside the bottom half of the shredder. Then a flange sits against metal on the top half. These 4 pieces around the flange hold the blade better in place, keeping it from tilting. While I did not want to use the snap fit to keep this shaft in place, I still needed to make the hole for a rod in top half of the shredder body. That aligns the shaft correctly. Hole needed to be small enough to not have too much play, but not too tight to allow shaft to rotate freely. Now I had the basic shape modeled, and I ordered it printed using nylon with the SLS printing method. That uses powder which is fused together using lasers. That method doesn't have similar or as visible layer lines as usual filament prints. For those wondering, this part was quoted to cost $7.50 plus shipping. Price per piece would have been few dollars lower if I would have ordered more than one. Now that I got the finished part, I could first confirm that dimensions came out correctly. Couple of hundreds of millimeters is nothing considering measurement errors and other factors. I noticed one mistake that I made. The inside diameter measured from the inner splines was measured incorrectly when I modeled this. I made it 7 mm and PCBWAY did print it correctly, but I had made a mistake and it should have been 6.4 or 6.5 mm. We'll see if that matters. It's time to test the new part. First, the bottom part of the shredder, blade, and it's time to see whether the shaft fits properly, and yes, it does. Splines interlock nicely with bottom half of the shredder, and there was no problems at all sliding this new shaft over the output shaft of the machine. Then top half of the shredder in and we are ready for the final test. First test is success. I can finally use this machine to slice vegetables, shred cheese and whatnot, instead of doing it by hand. Only concern I have is whether that mistake I made caused the splines to be too thin and if they will fail too quickly. If that or anything else fails, I'll need to modify the model to reinforce things. That is nice thing about CAD and 3D prints. Making new iterations is easy. But for now, this seems to work as planned. See you in next video. Thanks. Bye.